right. Hi. We are back and we are going to be continuing to work on our nonfiction to narrative organizer for day 2. Um, for this, the other day we already kind of did some footwork here. Is what I like to say. By setting up our setting, when our story is taking place and where our story is taking place, specifically where it's located. We also talked a little bit about our vocabulary. What are some vocabulary words that we absolutely must have in our writing, and then what are some vocabulary words that are you could have based on your choice of where your story is going to be going. So these were the words that I chose to this for the story that I'm going to be modeling for you guys. But today, what I'm going to show you is we're still not drafting today. This is so important to lay the foundation of generating ideas and making a good, solid plan before you actually draft when you're doing this type of writing. So, what I'm going to show you today is how to do a nonfiction to narrative organizer. It looks very similar to what we've done before, or what I did before with even finishing the story, with just using this basic organizer. So, if you have or not if you I want you to get a piece of paper and a pencil, and I want you to go ahead and set up your paper to look just like mine, because I want you to be doing this with me while we are writing our story. So go ahead and pause the video, get your pencil paper, and set up your paper to look just like mine, so that while I'm teaching this lesson, you can also be following along. And for your Flipgrid today, this will help make the Flipgrid a little bit easier. And then also for your assignment on the apply slide, this will be part of that. It's you're going to be taking a picture of your story organizer to show me that you are following along and that you are understanding the format of the organizer. So for your apply slide today, you are not making your own story organizer. You're actually just going ahead and following the model that I am making, and then you are taking a picture of what we did together so that I can see that you are watching the videos and you are understanding the modeling technique. So for this story, for the Caribbean story, I know some of you, like when you were talking on the Flipgrid about the problem, you were saying like what you wanted your story to be. So I know that's a little confusing, but this one we're totally doing together. And then I'm going to give you a new nonfiction source at the end of this week, and you'll be doing that one on your own. But for this one, we're doing it together. So please, again, pencil, paper, and have this story organizer down and be doing it with me. And then on your apply slide, all you're going to have to do, if you follow directions, is to take and upload a picture of your organizer for this today. So, all right. I think actually what the plan is that I'm going to work with you on everything except for the resolution. And then I'm going to let you try to give me some ideas through the Flipgrid of what do you think the resolution should be. And then tomorrow, I will go over what the resolution I picked from your ideas, and then we'll go from there. All right. So let's get started. So go ahead, if you haven't already, make sure you pause, get this down, and let's go. All right, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that I want you to have 3 characters in your story when you're going from a nonfiction to narrative. This is just do it. Just choose 3 characters. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to choose my 3 characters. I'm just going to use some names from my own life to help me move a little bit faster, not make this a big deal. And then we also want to name their roles. So one character I'm going to use is my first character, my main character. So I'm going to put MC for main character. My main character's name is, let's see, I'm going to use Allie for my main character. My daughter's name is Alouette, but we call her Allie. And I'm going to say young girl, 12 years old. Okay, and she's tall, short hair. Just put in like a little brief description there. Okay, real simple. All right, and then we're going to have our, and I'll just kind of zoom in a little closer. I can move this around that way you guys can see it better. Okay, Then I'm gonna have what's it called two supporting characters. So in a story, I'm gonna teach you a little trick. The easiest way to come up with two other characters in a story is you want a character that's a friend or a family member, and then a character that could be a family member, but a character that's kind of the antagonizer, the one that's kind of bothers everybody or causes issues, whatever. So I'm going to make the supporting character Allie's cousin's name Kaylin because they love to hang out and play together. And then I'm going to put their cousin that drives them absolutely insane, and his name is Lucas. Okay, so Kaylin, I'm going to put friend and cousin because they're best friends and they're cousins of main character. And then for Lucas, it's a cousin and he's younger than them, but that's okay. I'm not going to put that. And then I'm going to put antagonist. Antagonist. And what that word means is just simply it's somebody who kind of bothers people in the story. He's the antagonist. All right, and I'm going to write my story from third person point of view because I find it easier. So third person, and I'll just put POV. I find it easier to tell a fictional story from nonfiction as third person. Our setting we already have from yesterday, so I'm just going to kind of copy it over in a brief. We're in Jamaica. Near the Caribbean Sea, or on the Caribbean Sea, I should say. Okay, and it's July. I kind of ran out of room, but that's okay. I'm just going to put it down here. July, and, palm trees are everywhere, and sandy shores. So it doesn't have to be perfect, guys. Notice I'm kind of going everywhere, but that's okay. And then our theme category is simply, what kind of story is this? It's going to be a realistic fiction. When you're going from nonfiction to narrative, it's all based around the prompt also. So we know that our prompt, that's super important to pay attention to. So the prompt is you are taking a vacation in the Caribbean with your family. Hence why I stuck with cousins. Write in adventure using the sources provided. Okay. Now, just because I didn't put other characters in my list here doesn't mean I can't have like mom, dad, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just putting the three big ones that the story is going to kind of surround. You want to be careful not to mention too many characters because then it becomes, excuse me, very confusing. So there's that to think about. Okay. So now, excuse me, goodness, I'm going to take a drink. So now we are going to start our story. So we have to go back and look at our source again because it's been a little bit. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to reread over my nonfiction source. I know that this is about diving and it has the 5 ways to be safe diving. And then I know that this is the nonfiction source, so I'm going to go ahead and read over it. The Caribbean Sea sits between the islands of the West Indies and the coasts of Central and South America. It is a section of the Atlantic Ocean. The sea was named after the Carib Indians. The Carib lived on islands in the sea hundreds of years ago. The Caribbean Sea has a mainly tropical climate. Temperatures are warm year-round. Tropical storms are common in summer in the northern Caribbean, and hurricanes often strike, I believe it says, Caribbean islands between June and November, hence why I came up with that July time. The Caribbean region has mostly tropical plants. Rainforests grow in high parts. So sorry, guys. High parts of Cuba, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, and other islands. Coconut palms are typical on the sandy shores of the islands, and monkeys, cats, sloths, parrots, and toucans live in the forest. In the sea itself, many fishes and other sea animals live along coral reefs. There are sea turtles, sea cows, and manta rays. The Caribbean economy depends heavily on tourism. With its sunny climate, the Caribbean is one of the world's most popular vacation places. Fishing is also important to the economy. Tuna, sardines, and spiny lobsters our valuable catches. Caribbean countries ship coffee, sugar, and bananas to the United States and Canada. So each day that I work on this, I would reread it. You should be doing the same thing when you go to work on one yourself. Okay, so now I have to think about how do I want my story to start. So I will say from you guys' flip grids that you submitted the other day, which were awesome. I got a lot of really good ideas from you guys. Excuse me, goodness gracious. And some of the ideas that you had for your problem was boats break down, stranded on an island, there's a hurricane, the air tank is running out. I like that one. Bigger species, some kind of bigger species in the water attacks. You learn to swim better. Stingrays, stranded on a boat. Shark zone, you're in a shark zone, I guess that was what that one was. Someone lost something, they're trying to find it. There's a hole in their oxygen tank. I really like this one. Spiny lobster pinches the air tank tube. That was really a creative idea. And then no gas for the boat, so they're stranded. So a lot of boat stranding ideas. So I like that. So I actually thought about in the beginning, I was thinking about going with, since we made it during hurricane season, that being the problem. So I'm gonna stick to that. But you guys' ideas were fantastic. So here's would be my challenge. So I do want you today, mostly like I said, I want to see if you are modeling, if you're doing what I'm asking you to do in these learning videos. But I also want to challenge you that if you want to come up with your own story organizer, you could take a picture of both the one that we're doing together and then come up with your own and take a picture of that one as well. That would be pretty awesome to see that and see you guys' different ideas than mine. All right, so beginning our exposition, I'm going to start out with them being outside ready to go on the boat. So I'm going to say Allie and her family are on the boat dock ready to load up. Okay, they're getting ready to load up with the scuba diving instructor. So that's our beginning. That's where we're starting. And then I'm going to go ahead and say the weather is nice right now in the beginning, because we want to say, since our problem is about the weather, we're going to say the weather is nice currently. No signs of problems. All right, so I'm going to put down here my problem or my conflict at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and put the family, or Allie's family is out on their boat, not their boat, on the boat with the scuba instructor. So Allie's family is out on the boat with the scuba instructor, and some clouds roll in quickly. A tropical storm is about to hit. So I'm not going to make it a hurricane, because that doesn't really make sense, because hurricanes are really well predicted that they're coming. So instead I chose to use the idea of like it's hurricane season, but it's not a hurricane, it's just a tropical storm. So there is a difference. Yes, hurricanes are also called tropical storms, but I'm going to make this more of just a simple, not as crazy as a hurricane, tropical storm. Still dangerous though to be on the water. Any kind of storm on the water is dangerous. And I'm not going to put it that they actually are in the tropical storm. I'm actually going to make it that I'm going to build a lot of suspense in my story and make it so that they're basically trying to get home or trying to get back to the dock before the tropical storm hits. So that's going to be my big thing. So then for my middle, obviously there's no signs of problems. So I need a lot more before I get to this part, because that would be a really weak story to just go from them having nice weather and getting on this boat with a scuba dive instructor to there being a tropical storm. So I need some in between, and that's what we call rising action. So I'm just going to put some brief description down that they um, go out to the reef of because Jamaica's a small island, so small um, island. And this is like what I was thinking is like one of those really small, like almost not even like one that people would be living on, but there's all these little pieces of island pieces that are kind of surrounding Jamaica that aren't necessarily like big. And so they're out there, and there's reefs that are all along those small little islands. And then I'm going to go ahead and put like begin to dive. Now, when I go to draft, I'm going to have a lot more detail in here, obviously, in between them getting out there, getting settled, getting their scuba diving equipment on, all of that. But for my organizer, I don't necessarily have to put all that. So they're beginning to dive. I'm going to go ahead and skip on my organizer to the most exciting part of the story. So they're diving, they're swimming around. In my draft, I'll probably go on to talk about the things they're seeing and the fun they're having, possibly the cousin kind of bothering them a little bit, things like that. So the climax, I'm going to say, Kaylin notices the wind picking up and everyone looks up to see clouds literally rolling in. I don't know if you've ever watched that, but I've actually watched that before, like, because I used to live in Florida. But when a tropical storm comes, like, yes, it's very predictable for the most part, but there are times where it's like all of a sudden, literally, these clouds just like roll in. I don't know if you've ever seen James and the Giant Peach, but there's this scene where like this rhino is like running in the clouds, and it's very intense. Like these clouds just come rolling in. So that's what I'm gonna kind of draft about and make it this super suspenseful thing in my story. And I'm kind of thinking like that picture in the source and taking that idea of like the family all beep bopping around, and then those clouds like off to the right side kind of gave me the idea of like how they just like are coming into this perfect little situation. So our falling action is like the resolution. Obviously, we got to think about that one. Like, how is this problem going to be solved? How are they going to get back home? So that's the part we're not going to fill out, but we want to fill out a little bit more here. So I'm going to say Kayla notices the wind picking up. Everyone looks to see clouds are rolling in. And what do they all start doing logically? Everyone gets back on their boat, swims back to the boat. Now, I might add in my own story, that one of them is having trouble. Maybe Lucas, this little cousin, is out there, and Allie and Kaylin, even though they're really annoyed by him, it's still family, and they go help him. I would still continue to add some of those details in my draft, but for my organizer, I just want to get real quick, like what I'm thinking down. So everyone swims back to boat. They all take off their scuba gear, right? All right. So again, in here, I would want to definitely take into consideration some of these scuba diving safety tips. So probably in here, I might even go back right now. Allie and her family are ready to go, load up. The weather is nice, no signs of problems. And then I'm going to add here like the instructor gives 5 safety tips. Do you like how I did that? So just adding in some more of that, source information there is important. So I noticed I hadn't done that, so I wanted to go back and do that. So that's another thing. Again, when I go to draft, using things like the sunny climate, that they're loading up and they see palm trees off to the side and they're on the sandy beach, things like that. So that's going to be the end of what I want to do today. So your challenge is to get your organizer down based off of this. You're welcome to rewatch the video as many times as you need to. You're welcome to, let me make this a little bit bigger so you have it. Watch this as many times as you need to. Get that organizer down, and understand that what I want now is you to come up with the resolution. So what do you think the resolution to this story should be? How do you think they're going to solve the problem of being out there as a tropical storm is rolling in? Make sure you record that in your Flipgrid today. But also, when you do your apply slide, again, you should be having this organizer down. I know it's not perfect. Again, you just get the basics down, and I'm good with that. I just need to know that you're actually following along and you're trying to follow along with me. And then my challenge for you is to make your own story organizer and come up with what would you do for this story, for your characters and point of view and setting. So that is your challenge today. Come up with your own story organizer that follows this same outline. So if you need to go back to the beginning of the video and copy down the outline that I made, then you can do that, and then you can make your own story organizer and then take a picture of it and upload it onto the apply slide. All right, thanks for listening all the way to the end, and have an awesome